the Carolina Hurricanes are once again still serious Stanley Cup contenders. And we are very pleased to be joined by their general manager, Don Waddell. Thanks so much for doing this.
Always a pleasure to be with you guys.
So we know camps are officially opening today. There's physicals going on today. And my question to you is a serious one. Is Rod Brind'Amour down there taking the physicals just so he can show off that he's still in better shape than most of the players?
Yeah, he'll lead the fitness testing for sure. He's twice a day. He's got to work out. So, I think last year he finished third. And so he's competing to get that top prize. We'll try to catch up to Svechnikov this year.
Was the off season quick or short for you? And how is it for GMs? I mean, we were talking about it off the top of the show about sometimes it feels like it's going to be a long one and it ends up being short, and then vice versa. For a general manager, does it ever stop?
No, but short summers in our business means you played long into the last season, so it's always good to have short summers. But just a lot has to happen. There is some breaks. Usually by time August comes, you have all your arbitrations, players sign, and you're maybe fine tuning a few of your prospects and so forth that you need to sign. For us, it was a little busier because we don't have an AHL affiliate this year. We're looking to place our players around the league, so a little busier probably than normal for us, just trying to see what was out there for us. But it's all good. We're going to open camp on the ice tomorrow, and we're excited about it.
Don, I spent the trade deadline around you guys, which was a fun time, and thanks for the access there in both Vegas and Arizona. And I remember you. I mean, you made the trade for Gossett-Bear, but you didn't really make a lot of moves because you guys were so poised to potentially be a player in the Eastern Conference, and yet you still wind up in the Eastern Conference Final, which was exactly what you said at the time. But a couple of weeks later, you lose Svechnikov. Obviously, I was there in the building when you lost Pacioretty in January. When you look back at that series against Florida, how much do you look back and say, man, if we could have only had these two players? And as well, you mentioned Svechnikov. How is he doing now?
Yeah, when it first happened, for the next 5 or 6 days, you look back at it quite a bit. They scored 10 goals, we scored 6 goals, and we lost 4 straight. It's hard to imagine that could happen. So, injuries, unfortunately, not just for us, but for a lot of teams, plays a part. And with Svechnikov getting injured, we were a cap team right at the cap, and unfortunately, for him getting hurt. But the second part was it happened after the deadline, where you can't go out and replace those type of players. But it's a learning experience. We're still a pretty young team. Take Brent Burns, might be 40, but he acts like he's 21, so I'm going to give him a benefit of the doubt there. We're still a pretty young team, and so it puts us in another position to have get ready for the regular season. We can't look past that and build ourselves for the playoffs. Svechnikov looks great. He's had a schedule. Not that I care about the schedule, because I care about games later on. I don't care about preseason games as far as watching him play games. But he's doing really well, and we expect him to be ready for the start of the season.
You mentioned the injuries and how that impact it has, and how just kind of you need to be one of those teams that is lucky that time of season and doesn't have the injuries. You look at the teams that have won recently. Tampa Bay, it took them a while to finally get over the hill. Colorado, the same thing. I cover Vegas out here. They were kind of knocking on the door for a while and finally got it. Do you view it like that? Give yourself as many chances as you can and hope things go your way. And it seems like you guys are on a similar path to those teams.
Yeah, when we started building the franchise, we weren't building it for a short-term run. We were building it for a long-term run, and I think we're in a pretty good position here. It doesn't mean you're going to win every year, but you're going to compete at least for the big ultimate trophy. And we've gone 5 years, first time ever in the franchise making the playoffs. It's not about making the playoffs around here anymore. It's about winning the ultimate prize. So that's why sometimes at the trade deadline and some of those things, we don't get off what our plan is, get off course, and do something that's going to cost us something the following year or 2 or 3 years from now. We try to continue to keep that in mind, that yes, we always want to improve our hockey club like we feel this summer, but we also want to make sure that we don't, the old phrase that we're in the future to win today, because we feel like we're in a position that we can continue this run for a number of years coming up.
Well, let's go along those lines, Don, because your blue line was already pretty damn good. And then you go out and get Dmitry Orlov. I couldn't imagine being an NHL team facing your team and saying, well, either Slavin, Burns, or Orlov are pretty much going to be on the ice at all times on the blue line. That is just a scary thought. Walk us through your thought process there and how that signing came through and just how important that is to your team, especially given the style of play of the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, we wanted to get a little harder, both on the back end and the front end. And Dmitry obviously was a player that we thought he was one of the coveted free agents out there in the fence. And the first conversation on July 1st or whatever date it was this year that we could have with the agent, he was looking for a longer term deal, and we told him that we'd be looking at it more shorter. We have Pesce and Shea, they're both unrestricted at the end of the year, and certainly we want to protect ourselves, not getting caught barehanded if they both leave. Not saying that we'd like to sign both of them, so that's why we when they came back to us and said they'd look at a shorter term deal, we felt that this is a great fit for us. It at least gets us through the next 2 years, as you said, because Slavin's got this year and next year, and Burns is going to play for another 10 years. And so having Dmitry there, regardless of what happens, it gives us a nice safety net. And, again, saying that I'd like to bring all the guys back, but we just felt that he was a player that would be not just a player for us, he could be an impact player. And that's why we went out and got him.
Yeah, talk about depth on the blue line. I think you have like 25 NHL defensemen in camp right now. So, what you mentioned, Spetch and Slavin's situation, and Pesce's got 1 year left, and I know there were a lot of trade rumors with him this offseason. Looking at cap friendly right now, I mean, you have a lot of decisions to make, starting with Nietzsche's and obviously Seth Jarvis's RFAs, but then just a slew of unrestricted free agents. Is this from your perspective, is this year huge from that standpoint to really sort of analyze exactly how you're going to deal with this landscape going forward?
Yeah, up front, like you said, Jarvis and Chester are both restricted, so we'll get them signed. The unrestricted guys play their whole career to take that shot, so I understand how it works. But that's why, again, with the Orlov move, that was done with this in mind. We're going to continue to talk to these guys. We took a break in August. There's not much happening, but we'll continue to talk with our players and their representation to see if there's a fit. You don't want to have too much turnover. Roddy's the kind of coach that doesn't want any turnover. He's pretty adamant about the guys he's got. He thinks we got a good chance to win. So added just one or two, three guys like we did this year, maybe four. He felt very comfortable with the types of players we added. And so, we got to keep the future in mind as we move forward. And again, we got to keep, there's this thing called the cap. I have an owner that would spend 20 million over the cap if he was allowed, but we got to make sure that we put ourselves in position every summer, including 2 summers ago with Pacioretty, obviously, and getting Burns, where we had a lot of cap space to play with in the summertime. This summer we had Orlov and Bunting. We had the cap space to sign these players, so we want to keep that in mind, because again, going out and deadline trading assets away, or the summertime have trade assets. These players are free players. It only costs you money. And if you don't have the cap space, you can't take advantage of that. So that's always been our goal, to make sure as we approach the summer, that we keep that in mind. And we've done, our projections out 5 years, where we pretty much have a pretty good idea of how much money we're going to have to spend each summer, depending on how much the cap goes up.
Don, you mentioned off the top, the what kind of kept you busy this offseason was trying to find an AHL affiliate and everything that goes with that. What's that process been like? I remember Vegas, their first year, they had to share the Chicago Wolves with the Blues. Just what are your options? What kind of challenges are you facing with that?
Yeah, what we did is, we have 5 players that played North America last year. They're from Sweden and Finland. We assigned them back to their teams there. Those leagues are great leagues. You don't have the daily touches as they do with your own farm team, but from a development standpoint. But I think playing in that high level competition is going to be okay for them. There's been some NHL teams that we've worked deals with. We have 4 different teams right now that are going to take at least 1, some 2 players. Again, it's not ideal, but it's what we were forced to do, and we'll make the best of it. And then obviously we get some young players that are just on entry level contracts that, the East Coast League to me has made some big strides the last few years to change that league dramatically. And I think having a few players play down there, in particular a goalie and a couple other guys, will be okay for their development. And actually our development guys can be there on a regular basis.
Don, I got to ask you about the guy we started this interview talking about. That's your head coach, Rob Brind'Amour. You talked about a cap. Coaches don't count against the cap, but I saw an interview he did recently where he said going into this last year of his deal, it's not going to be an easy negotiation, I think was the exact line he said. Obviously, you're not going to give us too much on that negotiation, but can you update us a little bit on Rod the Bod and whether that's been on your to-do list as of late?
Yeah, we've obviously had some conversations. There's no the last year of a contract, I think it's overblown sometimes. We know two things. We know Rod wants to stay here. We want Rod to stay here. So whether it happens this month or 3 months from now or end of the season, I'm very confident. There's not too many things I can be pretty sure of, but I know if we're fair with Rod wants to be here, and we definitely want to keep Rod here. So there's nothing really new to report other than it's a different dynamic than maybe somebody that is coaching or they've only gone into that place for that role. Rod has maintained his house here, has raised his family here, all that, saying that, we have to also be fair with them as he moves forward.
And similarly, Don, I don't think a lot of people realize that, this is just one half of your job with the Carolina Hurricanes. You run the show there. I know that you guys are going through property development right now. You're going through arena renovations right now. How knee deep are you in all of that?
Well, pretty knee deep. Hockey kind of, like I said, went a little quiet in August, which was good for me to focus on. We signed a 20-year extension on our lease here, and a lot of speculation. People had us always moving out of the city. We're happy with that. We're doing over $300 million renovations. We're working on the plans right now. We only have a vision, but we're starting to work on the plans, which will start next summer. And then we also gained the development rights, which Tom Dundon is a developer and he wants to do on the property. So yeah, we have, from the business side, we have a lot going on. We're dealing with gambling just got passed here. We're going to have a sports book at some point here when it gets regulated. We got TV issues we're dealing with. We got the business side is keeping me busy. I'll be happy when we start playing some hockey games and get a little release of watching. I've never looked forward to preseason as much as I do this year.
Yeah. Hey, Don, last question for you. So I'm doing this player poll, and one of the questions is, who has the best road dressing room in the NHL and who has the worst?
Yikes.
Yeah, exactly. You guys landslide winners of the worst. And I asked Martin Nietzsche this, and he was super happy about it. He's like, why should we give them a big, nice, spacious room like all these new buildings? But I do hear that next year that you are going to renovate that visiting room. But what do you think of winning that prestigious honor in our player poll? And can you talk?
Well, I wouldn't say it's an honor to win that contest. I will say that the Centennial Authority, who owns the building, allocated millions of dollars to do it. We just couldn't get it done this summer with everything going on, and once renovation money was approved, so it'll change drastically. As you said, you don't want it too nice, but you want, to be fair, you want to have spaces for enough spaces for all the equipment, coaches' offices, all those things. So it's something that I know has been on our radar. It's been on the NHL's radar. So it'll get done for the start of the following season.
Rod Brind'Amour and visiting coaching dressing rooms, both on the to-do list to get done this season. Don, thanks so much. Hockey's right there. It's right there. We trust us. We feel the exact same way as you do. There's only so much talking you can do before you're saying, drop the puck. We want to talk about some actual hockey. So thanks so much for taking some time to talk to us today.
Always appreciate it, guys. Anytime, and have a great day.